don't mind tonight. Play per over.
Depends. Will your friend, the footballer, be there?
Oh, friend! Football friend!
Oh, what a superb goal! Stefan Moore, that is extraordinary from Ben Garuccio.
You're listening to Football Friends with Ben Garuccio and Stefan Moore. Here's what you can expect this week. We figure out what went wrong as Ben's Western fell to a 5-star Wanderers and recap the rest of the A-League Men's Round 2. The boys tell of what it's like being a professional footballer and what a week entails in the build-up to a match day. And Adelaide shot stopper Joe Gauci joins us off the back of his Reds' flying start to season 19. All that and more coming up on Football Friends.
Hello guys and welcome to another episode of Football Friends with Ben and Stef. Ben here. Stef, welcome to another episode. How's your week been so far?
Yeah, I guess since last episode we had an important game on the weekend. I was battling with a hamstring injury that I picked up in the game the Sunday before, so I was kind of touch and go. I ended up pulling up okay for the game. Played the second 45 and we drew 1-1 with the team that's maybe 4th or 5th to bottom. So we've just blown our chances, to be honest, to make the playoffs. We're now needing Kofu and Yamagata to lose both games, and we're going to win both games. So yeah, pretty disappointing, and not a great week for me. But I think my week was still better than yours.
Yeah, I was going to say you lads have bottled it, but I didn't even want to. I'm not even going to go there this week. So, on to the next topic.
No, go on. Run us through your week. How was the preparation for the game?
You know what? The preparation was good. It's just, look, I don't think you can ever prepare to go out and be 5-0 down at halftime. I don't think I've ever been 5-0 down in my whole career. I don't know if you have. Have you ever been down at 5-0?
I think we just lost recently to Chiba 5-0, but I came on and it was 5-0. So didn't really have anything to do with me. But you on the other hand, it was your direct player, Lockie Brook, that's bagged the first two. So I don't know. For you, it might be a little bit of a different story.
Yeah, it's the worst feeling. There's nothing shitter than that. Obviously, it's good when you win 5-0. When you're on the other end of it, it's the worst feeling. You don't want to be out there. You don't want to be involved in games like that. And yeah, it's obviously a hard one to take. There was obviously a couple of games with a lot of goals on the weekend. But yeah, look, for us, it's a shit feeling. At the end of the day, it's embarrassing. You don't want to be 5-0 at halftime, and it's a strange game sometimes, football. You know, I've played in games probably where we've played a lot worse than that and maybe not even lost the game. I've played in teams where you're just in a really, really bad momentum and you're coming up against a team that's flying and you're thinking, fuck, like this game could be anything. And then you don't even lose 5-0. So it's just one of those things, you know, we obviously weren't good enough. There's no excuses for that. I'm definitely not going to try and make excuses for that, but you know, sometimes you're just that half second off, or, you know, you don't win an individual battle and you get punished. And credit to Western Sydney because they punished us, and it just felt like every shot that they were going to have was going to be a goal. And after like 1 or 2, I wasn't too worried, to be honest. I was like, all right, you know, it's not the ideal start, but we can get back into this. And then obviously 3, 4, 5 happen and you're like, what's going on here? So
maybe not. Maybe not then, but
maybe
it's
maybe not get into it.
It's a hard one. I think that obviously goes us into the reviews of of a couple of the games. But do you want to talk us through, because there was a couple of people that said they want to hear more about, you know, what it's actually like being a professional player. So I think let's go like one step back. Talk to us about what it looks like as an A-League player, you know, the day before or 2 days before the game, actually leading up to the game, just so the people are at home, the fans, they can actually understand, you know, what do the sessions look like when you actually leave to go to Sydney, where do you stay normally, and, you know, match day preparation, not too detailed, but I guess just enough so people can kind of understand that a bit more. And then you can talk us through the halftime talk and then how you kind of mentally get over that to do relatively okay in the second half.
Yeah, I think, look, obviously we were coming off the back of a win, which always makes the week a little bit easier. I think probably the spirits in the camp were high, like very high. I think I was feeling very confident going into the game. And what do you got? Fucking Grand Prix gone on?
Sorry, big what's his name? Yuki Tsunoda's just out there fucking practicing his fucking hot laps.
Yeah, I think we were obviously coming off a win against City, which was a good win and the perfect way to start the season. So the spirits in the camp were very high, and I was very, very confident going into the game. You know, I watched the game Western Sydney versus Wellington. Don't smirk like that.
I know
I
you
watched the game the week before, and yeah, so yeah, I was feeling confident, and why wouldn't you? You know, you've just won in round one. We've got a fairly new team. I was pretty excited by the result, so I was very confident going into the game. And obviously, the training week was normal as it usually is. We played Saturday to Saturday, so it's quite a standard week. We get the day off on Sunday. We train Monday. Tuesday's a really hard day with a gym session, and then Wednesday off, and then Thursday and Friday are like our preparation sessions for the game. So we sort of have meetings in the morning. We go through the other team that we're playing against, and we see the way that they play. You know, we see the personnel. We watch some videos of them with the ball and also without the ball. And then on Friday, we come to training ready to travel. So we'll train in the morning. We'll have some lunch at the training ground, and then we'll go to the airport. And yeah, we flew to Sydney, and yeah, everything was, as I said, very, very normal. And you know, we get there to the hotel, we have our dinner, we have another meeting, usually for the defenders and things like that, and then we'll have our massage, watch the A-League game that was on Friday night, and then yeah, Saturday's just game day as usual. You know, you get up, you have your breakfast, you've got a team walk. If you want to go out for a coffee, if you want to do your own things, you can. And then there's lunch, bit of downtime in the afternoon if boys want to sleep or prepare the way that they want to prepare, and then we'll have a pre-match meal, a little meeting just to go over the things that we've spoken about all week and just run through everything. And then when we get to the ground, it's just, you know, we've usually got an hour or so sort of preparation time. So do the things that you need to do. If you want to get a massage again, you can. If you need to see the physios, your own preparation for the game, and everyone prepares differently. But yeah, that was the lead up, and that's usually a normal lead up for a game. And that's probably normal among most A-League teams, that sort of schedule. But yeah, obviously the game starts, and as I said, I've already gone through it, but yeah, you know, you're 2-0 down, you're sort of still calm, and you think that, you know, you can get your way back into the game. And then obviously, yeah, 3, 4, and 5 happen, and yeah, you get into the change rooms, and I think everyone's just sort of like, fucking hell, has this happened to anyone else before? Because look, I don't probably think anyone in the change room, probably coaches, players alike, have experienced that. So as a coach, it's probably pretty hard to do a team talk. And as players, it's like, well, what do we do here? So I think, look, the main message, I'm not going to go into detail of what was said, but I think the main message was just, at the end of the day, it's 5-0. You might not be able to change the result, but we can go two ways here. We can sack it, and this is going to be an absolute embarrassment, or we can actually come together and say, you know what, it's 5-0, but let's just play like it's 0-0. We don't want to concede any more goals. We want to try, and if we can get back into the game, we get back into the game. Obviously, that's always going to be your aim, to try and do the best as you can. But yeah, look, we weren't able to score. I was happy from my point of view that we didn't concede any more goals. But as I said, like, I've played in games where we've been so much worse than that and not lost 5-0. It's just, at the end of the day, that's football. Sometimes, you know, Hendricks nearly scored another worldie, nearly identical to Lockie Brooks. So look, it maybe could have been more on another day. Also on another day, it can be completely less. And unless you've got anything to add, I would say, like, that's a perfect segue into the Brisbane Roar Sydney game, because I was watching that game with the team on Friday night, and it was a little bit the same. You know, the game start, both teams sort of, Brisbane scored so early, obviously, but then after that, Sydney have a couple of chances, and then obviously Redmayne makes that mistake. They go 2-0 up, and then it's like, you know, Brisbane probably were better, but, you know, that's a 1 in a million mistake from Redmayne. And then they're going into half time, it's 2-0, and then they're probably going out for the second half thinking, you know, we can get back into this, and then they cop the third, and it's like, football's just a funny game sometimes. It's not always the games where you play the worst. But certain things happen in a game, you can't change it. And yeah, that was probably a little bit similar to our game.
Yeah, I think Brisbane. I think Brisbane to me were a lot better. I reckon. Like Sydney, the first 30 seconds started pretty well, and then, like, I know it sounds stupid, but they actually were aggressive. You always want to start as a player. The first 30 seconds, 60 seconds, first couple minutes, it's like you want to get stuck in. You want to play forward. You want to take your player on, and you can almost tell when you watch a game. Okay, this team's they're gonna win, or they're really up for it, because in that first initial bit, you're like, okay, they've started well, they've come out with an intent, and Sydney did that, and then Bratzy maybe made a little bit of a mistake, got caught on the ball, and you get punished. And that's the other thing that you say, sometimes as a player, there's nothing worse than when you make a mistake. It could be in front of your goal, or it could be you're going to take a shot and it gets blocked, and then they go up and score at the other end, and you're just thinking fuck's sakes, why does that have to happen when I've just made the mistake? Where there's other times someone will make the worst mistake ever right in front of goal, and they don't score, and you're like, woof, lucky there, lucky for me, I don't have to worry about that. But
about it.
Yeah, so it's one of those ones, football, and it's not trying to be too cliche here, but it is a game of moments and chances, and there's not many goals. It's not like AFL or rugby league or whatever. You make a mistake, someone scores a goal, or they get a try or whatever, and it's all right, you're going to come back into this. But with football, a goal's a massive swing in momentum and everything that goes with it. So you go 2-0 up, like you said, for Brisbane. They were looking good. They get more confidence and they're buzzing. They come out second half and they're thinking, all right, Sydney have got to go for it a bit more. So for Brisbane, that's even better. There's more space for them to attack. Goes 3-0 and then it's game over. So it's it's interesting, but it was good to see. I've tipped Brisbane to do pretty well, and they did well. And then the next game was on Saturday, was the Wellington Perth game. So we don't need to go into too much detail with every game, but I don't know if you saw much, but I watched that. I've got nothing else to do here in Okayama, so I'm watching all the games. You're
definitely not watching the teams that you're playing against.
I did watch a little bit of the playoffs in J2, or the teams that are near us for the playoffs, sorry. But yeah, it was a strange game. Perth could have equalised with Taggart. Paulson comes up big with a massive save. Both teams I'm still not 100% sure of. They both look good in patches, but still not 100% sure. The one thing that was I guess a bit of a strange one was the penalty call. That was a bit of a weird one in the game where the left backs, he's the ball's going out for a goal kick and it's just hit his arm. I don't know if it is a penalty or not, but
I think
it's just
it has to be a penalty.
Yeah, you think?
He's watching the ball come over and then it's just hit his arm. He's obviously just thinking, okay, perfect, this is going out for a goal kick. And then your arm's just there.
I don't know 100% what the rule is, but I thought if it's not actually affecting the play, there was no one near him. So I don't know. We maybe need to get Alex King on here one time and he can run us through the rules, because it's probably a good thing that professional players actually know what the rules are. But you know what? I think the refs don't either, because then in the Newcastle Jets victory game, Jesus Christ, the ball's come off Stefan Negro, gone to AP, and then they've called it offside. So I don't know. I don't know if the maybe the referees don't know the rules as well. I can speak a little bit more openly. You probably can't comment on that one, but
the handball one is just, there's so much grey area to it. It's never ever going to be black and white, and every situation is completely different. And they talk about distance away and did you have time to react? Was your hand away from your body? It's all interpretation for me. So that's
we've touched on that, and then we go into the Central Coast Macarthur game. What did you think of what you saw in that?
Yeah, I thought it was probably a pretty even game for the most part. Obviously, the goals didn't come till sort of later on in the game. Central Coast looked dangerous early, and they had a couple of really good chances. Kurto made some good saves, and then obviously Jermaine just showed his class in the second half with that chance. And yeah, it was obviously, I knew as soon as that ball went over and Caltac was kind of out of the game, they had a 4v3, that it was going to be dangerous. And then, they managed to play it right. And Jermaine, top finish. I think you'd like to
Yeah.
see players probably in
Yeah.
the A-League like blaze that over the bar, so many times, and it was just like top into the roof of the net. And then Kieran Backus
Yeah.
got his first ever A-League goal. And yeah, then, the game's kind of done. There was obviously the offside goal, which was, they called it onside, but it was definitely offside. That would have been a pretty big, talking point if that was called
Yeah.
onside. And then, they got that consolation in the 91st or 92nd minute. There was like 7 minutes added on. But yeah, I thought MacArthur deserved probably the win in the end.
Yeah. They've set up like same against Brisbane Roar, I think, to counter attack, and they've got good players that can actually hurt you on the break. And there's one thing to kind of just sit back in a deep block and just like get this pressure, but if you can break and hurt teams like they've done against Brisbane Roar and like they did against Mariners, like they've got the quality to do it. It will be interesting to see. And then you've got the other side, like in football, where as a new manager, you want to start well in the season. You've come in, like obviously they've won the championship last year, and now you've lost to Adelaide. You've got smashed. Now you've lost your second game. They're doing well in the AFC Cup, but it's you want to win, like first game at home. So now as a player, you're thinking, shit, round 3, like we got to win. Like we got to win now, and that's where you do start to panic a bit.
Yeah, and I've been there, and it's like, we had it last year with Western United. We started the season so poorly, and then we still nearly made finals, but at the end of the day, it was the first 5 or 6 games that cost us. And it's not a super long season where you're playing 38 games like over in Europe, or 45 games. But 26 games, it goes by quickly. And if you start 5, 6, 7 games without winning or dropping points that you shouldn't drop, it's hard. It's hard in the long run. You've seen so many teams that have started the first 10 games unbelievable, on fire. They usually go on, they maybe don't always come first, but they're usually up there for the whole year.
Yeah, I'd love to know what league that you're actually playing 45 games in. So you've got like
championship in England.
What, 45
Championship.
games? They got uneven teams.
45, 42, 45. I'm pretty sure it's 45 games in the championship.
20, what is it? 24 teams would be 46. Right, this guy 2 + 2 is 4.
No, I'm pretty sure it's around that.
It would be 46. It can't be 45. It has to be uneven.
45, 46.
Come on. This is what happens when you get sent to the AIS and you go to Canberra High and Lake Ginninderra.
No, I didn't even finish.
You can't count.
That's wasn't it?
Yeah, that makes 2 of us. I didn't even finish year 11 or 12. You at least finished year 11 because you were doing it over 2 years. Oh, you didn't either?
No, I didn't. But,
well, there you go. Yeah. And I think it's quite funny because I'm actually doing a talk at a university in Tokyo once the season ends, and I haven't even finished high school, so that will be good fun.
Yeah, perfect. So on to the next game, and Melbourne victory 5-3 against the Jets. That was another goal fest. Bruno scored 4 in a row.
How long have we been saying that for with anything? Anything's 4 in a row. We're like, 4 in a row. Yeah, and he's actually now finally scored 4 goals in a game. So other people, and I think someone in the commentary box also used it. So we said that first. We copyrighted that. We're gonna have a chat with them.
Yeah, 100%. But what a game. Melbourne victory. Obviously, Newcastle Jets, they scored early. You're away, you're at Amy Park, you score early. Probably the worst thing that can happen is to cop a goal straight after, which is what happened. And then obviously, a bit of brilliance from Bruno. He just looked super hungry, and then obviously topped it off with the Rabona, which was unbelievable. A little bit lucky, but at the end of the day, when you're playing with confidence, lucky things maybe start to happen.
You make your own luck.
That. Exactly right. Yeah, you make your own luck. So I said it last week, he's aging like a fine wine. We should have got him in our fantasy team. We didn't.
El Tuna. You actually said it on Friday. You said on Friday, he's a good pickup. He's a little bit too expensive. Maybe get Fabio Gomez out, bring El Tuna in.
Couldn't afford it.
But now he's going up even more. So it's like the house prices in Australia. You think they're bottoming out, just buy them, or they're going to keep going up. So either way, Victory are looking great. Again, their bench players coming on off the bench are top. They're starters in most other teams. But the Jets, I know they lost, but if I'm a Jets fan, I'm a little bit excited. They've got some good players. So we'll see. I think they've got a pretty important game. They might be at home now after 2 tough away games against Glory and Victory. So we'll see how they go. But don't want to touch on crowds at all too much this week. But it was good to see, the Victory fans out in good numbers. The atmosphere looked good. So it's positive for the league. You want, and I know not many people want it, but for the A-League crowds, Victory are a big one. You want them firing. You want them winning games. You want them turning out. And this week against Adelaide United, I think they'll get a massive crowd. And going on to the other Melbourne team that's been at the top normally and Victory have been down the bottom. Roles are reversed to start this season. You've got Adelaide United, which I said it should be the hottest ticket in town. And they've just banged 6 past Melbourne City, which I don't think anyone would have ever have thought was going to happen. A win, a 1-0 win, a 2-1 win, whatever is unbelievable. But the way that game went, couldn't have went any better for Adelaide United. On the flip side, it's not looking good for Melbourne City. And maybe your win against them doesn't look so good now because you only put 2 past them.
Look, a win's a win. You still get the same amount of points. But that was just a crazy, crazy game. And yeah, obviously Melbourne City, look, they travelled midweek, whatever. I don't think they'll have any excuses about that. I don't think it's not an excuse anyway. You can never use that. So yeah, look, we said Adelaide, we've spoken obviously to Joe, and yeah, it's exciting. If you're an Adelaide fan right now, it's good. You want to go and watch these young players, and obviously Aaron Kunda pops up again with another wonder goal. I don't understand. His bloody highlight reel is just getting better and better. So
it's actually not normal on that. We got to touch. I know we don't want to talk too much on it, but like a 17-year-old to hit a free kick like that, that's world class. Like, I know the A-League is not the Premier League, but that free kick, and Nesta as a 17-year-old, he is actually a world class player for his age, and he has the potential. There's Bayern Munich apparently are interested. That's $1 to maybe $2 million more on his price tag. And Adelaide United have done wonders. I'm assuming they haven't signed a deal yet to not agree a transfer fee, because the start of this season, he is just going to keep adding maybe the zeros to the end of his price tag if he keeps going at this rate. So good for the league, good for young players, good for Australian football.
Yeah, it's unbelievable what he's doing, and yeah, his highlight reel is ridiculous for a 17-year-old, for any 17-year-old, no matter where you're playing around the world. But he's getting more time on the pitch now. He's started 2 games, and he's got 70, 80, 90 minutes to show what he can do instead of 20 minutes off the bench. And it is hard when you're only getting that 20 minutes a week. You wait all week for game day, and when you finally get your chance to come on, you're thinking, fuck, I got to do something, because we've both been there, and you're getting maybe 10, 5, 15 minutes off the bench, and you're thinking, if I don't fucking impact the game or do something, then I might not get brought on next week, or I might not make the squad. So yeah, it's unbelievable. And obviously, Bernardo came off the bench and scored a double as well. So yeah, all things going really well.
And Musa Toure, the Toure boys, like we spoke about him last week, but he's now bagged his first goal. Like, he spoke about it in the interview. It's incredible. And that's what I mean with Adelaide. Like, he was saying, 4 years ago, he's in the crowd thinking, oh, one day I want to do this. I'm dreaming about it. And now he's actually out there. And the next young, 14-year-old, I don't know if he's got another younger brother, but if he does, he's probably going to be playing for Adelaide United and scoring.
He will 100% be there in 2 years.
But the next young player is dreaming the same thing, and it's possible. And when I do these talks as well to junior clubs, I actually have a picture of Mohamed Toure when I speak to the young Adelaide teams as well. Because I say, he was 15 when he made his debut. How old are you players? A lot of them are 12, 13. That could be you in 2 or 3 years. And it literally can be. And that's what's great about Adelaide right now. So we don't want to go about it too much, because I'm obviously a little bit biased towards Adelaide. And we need the listeners from the other states to keep tuning in. So we'll wrap up the A-League chat there.
Saved by Joe Gauci. Joe Gauci. Joe Gauci take it down.
Here we are, our first guest, Joe Gauci, after a pretty big performance, stopping a penalty at a crucial time. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, boys. Thanks for having me. I've enjoyed the first 2 episodes. So you said it would take 5 seasons to get me on, but I'm good to see it's only taken 2 episodes.
And first guest.
Few cancellations. Last minute
You must
call
be
up.
struggling if I'm on.
Tell you what, we've learned actually that we don't have many friends in the league. Everyone's saying no to us.
Not looking good. Not looking good, man.
No, but it's all good. We appreciate you coming on. We know you've probably got a busy week getting ready for victory, but we thought you were a good one to get on, and Adelaide's flying. But firstly, we just want to touch on your journey. Give the listeners a little bit of a background to how you started later on, not juniors. We don't need to know about when you're 5 years old, but going into that 16, 17 years old when you first went into Central Coast, and then kind of how you went back, NPL back to City. I think it's interesting to hear about that, especially with the second division talks coming up. A lot of players that do go back struggle, so it'd be great to hear from your perspective how that kind of 3 or 4 years went.
Yeah, definitely. I think I was 16, and more fortunate for me, injury to the first team goalkeeper meant I was able to play NPL seniors at Bacalla, West Orange Bacalla, at 16, which for a goalkeeper is quite rare, and I was very fortunate with that to play. I spent a season and a half playing first team there, and then got the call to go on trial at the Mariners, and must have had a decent enough week and got offered a 1-year scholar. And that
so wasn't that good then?
To be honest, I didn't think it was that flash. I was actually a little bit disappointed, and didn't think I'd get a contract. But no, they must have saw something and wanted to bring me in. So spent the year there. That was under Mike Mulvey and Stajic towards the end. And whilst I guess for the club it was a pretty tough year, for me personally it was massive growth. Learned the ins and outs of, I guess, what it meant to be a professional footballer, because coming from NPL, training 3 days a week, and the game on the Saturday, I had no idea what was ahead of me. And, was really naive, thought I was going to go in and play in my first year. And after the first week, I was like, I'm not playing at all this year. I was so far off that it took me 6 months probably to get up to speed, but was such a massive learning for me. And technically as a goalkeeper, the goalkeeper coach I had there improved me heaps. But yeah, it just didn't work out for whatever reason. They released me. And like you said, I had to go back to NPL. Chose to go to Adelaide City. They were in a bit of a tough spot, and I knew the goalkeeper coach there from my junior days, so he was keen to bring me in, and played 10 games there through the, with the A-League season and NPL seasons running at different times of the year. It was just great timing, really, that I could get in and play games, and get sort of a little bit of exposure whilst trying to get back into the A-League. And yeah, had another trial at Melbourne City another week, which went quite well. And yeah, I didn't actually hear from them for about 6 weeks, and the NPL season had finished, and was a bit in limbo. Realised I had to earn some money, and so went for a job interview at Athlete's Foot. It was Foot Locker actually. Went for a job interview at Foot Locker, and I was like, this is how I'm gonna be working at Foot Locker. Might get some cool discount on shoes as well. And got back from the job interview, and my agent at the time rang me and said, yeah, Melbourne City have just offered you a scholarship. Do you want to take it? I said, of course. So I had to ring back.
You said, no, I've just got the job at Foot Locker. I can't turn it down.
So yeah, I had to ring him back and say, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I've just been offered a contract. I'm no longer available for the position. So yeah, it's funny how quick things can change. But after that was a good year. And Benny, you'd know, and well, you'd both know from being at City, the level and the professionalism of the club and everything that they had there, as well as, I guess, just the players. You're training with Socceroos and experienced players that, that sort of winning mentality that came from the club. I learned a hell of a lot about just winning games, going to the final, being involved. I guess that hub season, being involved in the final series and sitting on the bench in the final gave me a taste for it. And And then, yeah, I guess at the end of that year, I could have stayed at City, but the door was open to come to Adelaide. And I guess it is my hometown club, and that whilst that played a little bit of a part, like a factor, I think at the time it was just the best move for my football. I would guess Adelaide at the time didn't really have an established number one, so there was a potential opportunity to get some game time, and yeah, it just so happened that my family and girlfriend and everything was back in Adelaide, so it just was perfect. And I guess the last 3 seasons, I guess I couldn't have thought of going any better.
Yeah, so there was probably a few times in your career where you've had that sort of perfect timing you spoke about with obviously Adelaide City, and then obviously sort of Adelaide United as well coming there. That was a time when Adelaide United didn't have an established number one like you spoke about, and it was obviously you and James Delianov at that time. So how is that relationship between the two of you, just while we're here? And obviously, probably when you signed, you would say that probably James was maybe in front of you or was looking like being more so the number one than you.
Yeah, well, I guess on our relationship, it's great. Through, I guess, just mutual friends. When I was at Melbourne City, I met James. He was at Western United, and we became mates and caught up a few times. And then I signed to Adelaide and heard he was coming as well. It didn't help that I pulled my hamstring first week of preseason, so it sort of set me back a lot. I guess that preseason I missed 2 months of it, and I think I only came back with about a month to go of the preseason. So definitely, and that was evident with James playing round one and starting the season and starting it so well too. So we have a great relationship. I think we're very supportive of one another, and as well as the younger keepers as well. I think Ethan Cox, who hasn't featured in the A-League as yet, but Stephen Hall, who has a little bit when I got sent off. He's done tremendous as well. So I think we've got a really good group, and then we have Eugene Gilakovic, who's, in my opinion, the best keeper to play in the A-League, sort of guiding us and leading us.
Big, huge.
Five-time Golden Keeper of the Year. I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah, exactly.
So the Keepers Union, basically what you're saying is the Keepers Union strong at Adelaide.
Yeah, definitely. It's young. It's probably one of the youngest in the league, but no, it's very strong, and it's a good group to have, to push each other and ask a lot of questions as well. You can probably argue that sometimes within keepers, it's nice to have, more of a senior and older number one who the younger keepers can go to and really ask those questions. But I guess having you just sort of that for us, because he was only finished playing in the last couple of years, so he still can relate to obviously the modern game and the way the game's changed, and the goalkeeping position so specifically has changed so much that he can relate to the changes that the positions going through over the last couple of years.
Yeah, with obviously what's happening at my team in the Premier League, Arsenal, the same, I'm not saying that you and Delianov are anywhere near Ramsdale or Raya, but it's something where I think people on the outside, fans, for example, they probably don't understand it. But, this goalkeeper union, when you're a player, like me and Ben, outfield players, and then you've got your goalkeepers, every goalkeeper you meet, they're all weirdos. And it's just standard. You're maybe one. You and James are probably two of the most normal that I've met. I'm not. I think James is maybe a little bit more. You're not so sure about. But the goalkeepers always stick together. They always stick together, and it is. Who wants to go in the goal and let someone kick the ball as hard as they can, and you're jumping at the ball with your face, pretty much just open to get smashed. Like it's not normal. So it's but I think what I want to know, and what I think the fans would love to hear, is how do you really react, for when James, for example, when he was doing really well, when he first was playing and you were injured or coming back from the injury, and then he got injured and you went in, do you kind of go to each other and kind of give each other pep talks? Do you really analyze the games with each other, or do you kind of stay a little bit separate? You just push each other in training, and Eugene does a lot of that with you?
It's a good question. I think through the week, you're definitely competing against each other. As you guys would know, the keeper's always off to the side doing our drills, and we're always competing against each other. Every player has that sort of competitive nature, and there's only one of us can play at the end of the day, but you want your keepers behind you pushing you because it then drives your standard. So when he was playing, it was, well, I want to play. And for me to play, I need to make sure that I'm training at a high level to show that I'm ready. That was the way I looked at it. It was, if an opportunity comes up, it might not. Okay, I need to be ready. But if not, okay, well, I'm going to train to a high level and try and get better and better and better for my own personal development. So that when an opportunity comes, whether it was at Adelaide or if I had to move clubs again, because, I was at my third club in 3 seasons. So I might have had to make another move potentially. It was just, let's try and get better and better so that,
Back to Foot
okay,
Locker.
whenever I make, that was just trying to stay away from that. That was just trying to stay away from Foot Locker. That was why I was training so hard. So it was just, that was for my own personal development. But then when you get to the game, it's 100% backing of whoever's playing. You have to be there, give support, give not really pep talks, but you get behind them the same way that anyone would if they were on the bench or not in the playing squad. You get behind the players that are playing because at the end of the day, you want the club to do well and you want success. So as soon as match day comes, it's you back the keeper that's playing. But of course, within the week, you're pushing hard to push the other keepers that are in the the union that we talk about, and as well as your own development, because you want to get better as a player. You want to be ready that if an opportunity comes up, you're there to take it.
Yeah, I think obviously the keepers union is a very emphasized sort of version of that, but I think it sort of does go a little bit underestimated because people do forget that obviously, first of all, you want the team to do well and you want the club to do well. That's why we're here. We're a part of a team. But you see it so much where, people are, in the same position as you and you find other players going, I hope he doesn't do well or things like that. But at the end of the day, all you can control is what you're doing. I think that you said it perfectly. All you can control is how hard you're training, what you're showing. At the end of the day, the person in your position isn't making the choice. It's the coach that's making the choice. So I've never really understood that. I think for me, yes, it's competition. Yes, I want to be doing better than you, but that's only up for me to do in training every day and show why I should be. And then the rest of it is up to the coach. If you're going to be angry at anyone, be angry at the coach. He's the one making the decision. So I think I actually love the keepers union. Fair play to you. You are a different breed, but it's it's good. On to obviously, your start to the season and Adelaide United. There was a lot of talk in the off season. Fans were a bit unhappy about obviously Craig Goodwin leaving and other things that were maybe happening at the club. You guys have started on fire. Talk me through that, and obviously, the younger players and the local talent has been a massive feature. How's that been for you guys?
Oh, it's been a good start, hasn't it? So yeah, I guess the vibe within the change room is positive. At the same time, there's a long way to go, and you can have a great start to the year, but it's all about how you finish. And if you're not there, up the top towards the end, it's really all for nothing. But like you said, there was, I guess, a bit of talk about the departure, the main departure, I guess, of Goody, which has been talked about heavily. And I guess within the group, it was a case of, okay, you can't control that. He's been a fantastic servant of the club and, has been outstanding over the last 2 seasons. But these are the players that we have. This is the squad. We have the coaches and the club have 100% trust and backing of the players that are here. So this is it. We are the boys that are going to either do the job or we're not going to do the job. So I guess probably since the cup game and losing so heavily to Western Sydney, that was the real wake up call for us that, okay, we need to lift as a playing group. And I think since that moment within preseason, within training, there's been a real hunger and desire, especially from the younger players. I think they sort of sense that if they put in the work and if they start to do the right things in training and do it in the practice games and in the trial games that we've played, they'll get rewarded with minutes in the season and with the start and get the opportunity to show what they can do. So I think a lot of the younger players have really stepped up in maturity over the preseason. And I think in the first two games, you've probably seen that with, you know, Nesta starting, making his first, back-to-back starts, never started before. I think the level of maturity he shows in the way that he's played is different to last year. I think at times over the last two seasons, he just wants to get the ball and run at the fullback. And he tries to do that every time or shoot from 30 yards. And, if it doesn't come off, he's fuming. But I think the maturity that he's shown, as well as the other younger boys that have played, I think Johnny Yull, the way the positions he gets into facing forward, you can see a level of maturity in their play that was probably different to previous years. So I think, it's been, from the outside looking in, you don't know the ins and outs of day to day, and you can kind of look at the players that we've lost and not replaced, or replaced with younger players, and be a little bit skeptical. But I think within, we always knew we were really confident in the work that we were doing and full confidence in the young players and the young talent that we have.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Like, I would want to know, like, from my point of view, obviously being there a couple of years ago, but I'm sure the fans would love to know, who was it? You said the younger boys, that they kind of found this bit of drive after the cup game, because when I was there, I kind of felt like a lot of the young players, there was a few that, had that eagerness. You were definitely one of them. You wanted to play, and it felt like some of the others were just happy to be there. And it was Ross probably back then that was, driving the standards, being, really demanding. Was it driven from specific young players, do you think? Was it the coaches, or was it also some of the older players, even someone like yourself, who, if I'm not wrong, you're in the leadership group now. Was it you, for example, going and having a chat to them? Because that would be, for me anyway, just knowing, I'd love to find out how or who kind of made that change.
I think it's been a combination. Definitely from the coaching staff of driving the standards every day and making sure that the level of training has been quite high. Also, I think that the more senior players within the team, obviously Kiddo's now come in as captain. He's been fantastic in driving the younger players, and he's not someone that's on social media or anything like that. He doesn't care for all that hype. So, for young players, it's quite good to have someone who just says it how it is. And, you can be on top of the world. He'll just put you back in your place and tell you, just work hard, just do the job.
Yeah.
So he can be quite, I think he can be quite brutal at times, but it's what, some of the younger players need, especially, when you're on cloud nine after a great performance or, a goal or whatever it is. So, yeah, and I think myself, I just try and lead probably more by example rather than, smashing people or really yelling. I don't think I have the runs on the board just yet to be like that, but more just try and lead by example and have a good standard every day. And, you hope that the younger players will look and say, I want to do, what he's doing. I want to be playing in the league and be starting every week. So I'm going to try and maybe emulate some of the things that he does.
I saw in the game, actually, one thing that I really liked was right near the end. I don't know what the score was at this stage, but something happened with, I think the ball went to the back post, and it was Bovalina, I think, did something, and you had a go at him. And the game was, I don't know if it was done at that stage or whatever it was, but, that's a good sign when you've got someone like yourself, a young keeper, not just worrying about your own game, but you're worrying about other players. And Bovalina, I think he bit back and said something. So I hope afterwards, you gave him something and said, listen, when I say something, you don't fucking speak to me, yeah? Just do your job.
Mate, he came and spoke to me afterwards. He came and spoke to me afterwards, and he tried. And I said, mate, I don't even know what I said. I was just yelling. I just wanted to keep the clean sheet. I don't even know what I was talking about. But sometimes that's just how it is, especially trying to keep the clean sheet. I'm just screaming at everyone, but that keeps me in the game as well, because you have times where you don't touch it. So if I'm just standing there looking at who's in the crowd, you're not mentally in the game. So
waving to your missus.
There's a lot of times I'm just yelling and, and I don't know what's coming out, and I just tell them don't take it personally, but I'm just screaming, just sometimes just for the sake of it.
That's good though. Honestly, like that's what you want. When you're demanding those standards and other senior players, that's when you get the buy-in from the younger players because they know that there's a certain standard that has to be upheld every time we play. And for me, that's the only way that you can drive that. And just from the outside looking in, obviously we're always a little bit biased because, we're Adelaide boys ourselves. And, I love the fact that there's so much local talent because there's always been local talent in Adelaide. It was always my dream when I was a young kid. I used to go to Cooper's and watch Adelaide United and I said, I want to play for them one day. And then when I was leaving the AIS, it wasn't like that back then with Adelaide United. And, me and Stef, both of us, we didn't get any opportunity with Adelaide United. And of course you're a little bit gutted because that's your hometown club. That's the way that you dreamed of it when you were, 8, 9, 10 years old. And then when it doesn't work out like that. So, I definitely like what they're doing, in that side of things. And, the fans will obviously always have their opinions, but from the first two performances, I think Cooper should be full and Steph's already said it, but I 100% agree. I think it's very exciting. The young boys have got a lot about them, and I think if you can bring that all together, like you have done already, it's promising signs for you guys. So buzzing.
Yeah, brilliant. Listen, I've got to stop Ben from talking so much. We've got to get onto the questions because Joe's a busy man. He's got things to do, yeah? So we're going to go into the questions that have come through, and I'll go with the first one, Ben, and then you can go with the second one. But we've got Travis AFC. So I'm assuming potentially an Arsenal fan. I'm not 100% sure on that, but he said,
Adelaide Crows.
Oh, the Crows. Do you feel the pressure to play more like an outfield player? Feel like the role of a modern goalkeeper is changing? Wondering if Joe and coaching staff is conscious of this trend.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something I'm conscious of, and to be honest, has probably been my biggest weakness as a goalkeeper. Definitely in the last season, I got caught a few times with the ball at my feet and, nearly got embarrassed against Wellington. And I think I still owe Costa a beer or two because if I would have been just a running meme if he had scored that. But yeah, I've analysed it and know it's been a weakness in my game, but so have the coaches, and that was something that we spoke about at the end of last season, that it's a style of football that we want to continue to play as a club and want to try and play out more and more. And as the goalkeeper, I'm required to be a part of that, and that was perfect. It was exactly what I wanted to hear because as my natural progression as a keeper, it's the direction I want to be heading in. And you look at any top keeper at any top club, they play out from the back. I mean, Steph, you're talking about your mighty Arsenal. You got David Raya, who's come in and he's unbelievable. He's pretty much a 6 playing in goals with the ball at his feet, his level of composure, both feet, short, long distribution. It's ridiculous. So it's definitely where you need to get to, and it's something I'm conscious of and working on, and as well as the coaching staff, they're driving me to try and play more and more. And I think that's something to mention, that they have, they've got full confidence in me to take risks and to play out under pressure. And they've said to me, if you're gonna make a mistake, you're gonna get caught, but as long as you're doing the right things, we're gonna back you in. And that's, as a player, you guys will know that that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, that's what you want to
I
hear.
don't want to pump your tires up, but I think you've improved massively. I remember the first session before you did your hamstring in preseason, and we were doing those small possession games, and you were on the outside, and I was thinking, fucking hell, every time this guy gets the ball, he gives it away. I'm going to stop passing it to this side. You were so slow on the ball. I don't know if you were nervous and you just had heavy legs, but I was thinking, get this guy out, yeah? We need Eugen here. He can do a better job. But I think in two, what's that, 2.5, 3 seasons, of course, yeah, you're going to make mistakes. Like every player makes mistakes. But, I think the confidence you show on the ball gives the rest of the team confidence as well, because they know they can pass the ball back to you. And you know what? Who cares if you make a mistake at the end of the day? That's the way they want to play. You know what? Maybe one time you make a mistake, but the other 10 times you're threading through balls to Issa, and then it stops them from pressing because they're nervous now to press because you're playing through them. So I think it's great to see you keep developing and knowing what you need to improve on, which is really good. So Ben, you can lead us off with the second question before we let you go.
Yeah, it's from @NeweyJetsFootball. must have thought that we were having Ryan Scott on the episode today, but just Joe instead. But who is a goalkeeper you look up to?
I get asked this a lot, but I don't really have anyone in particular, to be honest. I think constantly looking at all the top keepers, from all around the world, I kind of like to take little bits and pieces from everyone. I talked about David Raya, and you can talk about Edison Ter Stegen in terms of distribution, and then you got someone like Emi Martinez, whose shot stopping ability, his one-on-one spread from the World Cup final is a great example. His shot stopping ability is fantastic. So they're just a few examples, but I don't really have anyone in particular that I look at and try to emulate my game off 100%, because I think goalkeeping is such a unique position. Everyone does it a little bit differently. There's no two keepers that are identical. Everyone has their own little style and ways they like to do things. So no, I just like looking at a lot of the top goalkeepers, and you can learn things from everyone really. So that's just the way I like to do it. I've never really had anyone that I've looked at and gone, I want to be exactly like them.
No, that's a good answer. And there is the last one, but I'm not even going to bother repeating it because it's Popper trying to chime in. And you know what? He just needs to just pipe down. Worry about fixing his injury or whatever he's got, not asking questions to the podcast, all right? So you can...
just read it out. Read it out.
He says, who is your favourite Serb in the change room? What is there, 2 Serbs?
Yeah,
look at
Jovanovic.
Yeah,
look at Jovanovic for sure. He's a real Serbian. I think Popper's half-half.
Love it.
He's got the big Serbian head, the big Balkan head.
Popper just needs to wait his turn. He's trying to get on, but he's going to get his message eventually.
Yeah, he'll come in time. But,
all right. Well,
I think yeah, that's all for it. So Joe, thank you very much for being our first guest. Top chat. And great to hear from you, and all the best for the rest of the season. I'm sure I'll see you soon.
Big game.
Thanks,
in Melbourne this week against Victory, the original rivalry. So I think that's going to be a big crowd. Make sure you're not making a mistake there in front of the Victory faithful, because they'll be giving you a mouthful. And a word of advice, any flares come onto the field, do not chuck them back.
No, don't do it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
And the goals just keep on coming for Ange Postecoglou's Tottenham.
Schot van goal. Oh, die knalt hem schitterend binnen. It's Haley Razzo. Yes, she's got it. Off and running for Real Madrid. Haley Razzo.
World football news, which is still local, and it's the Matildas who have comfortably beaten the Philippines in their Olympic qualifier. 8-0?
8-0, yeah, 8-0. So, yeah, I think probably Matildas would be probably the biggest sporting brand in Australia right now. And they just keep selling out stadiums. I don't know how many. I think I saw a list the other day. Their last however many games have been sold out. Their next game that's not even in Australia, but that sold out in 8 minutes. So, yeah, they're flying. I think it's positive for Australian football.
They just said for their last qualifier, I think there's something to do with Taylor Swift. There's a concert on at the same time, so maybe some stadiums are not available. And I think they asked Steph Catley, would you want to play at the MCG? And normally, as a player, you don't want to play at football arenas like Optus Stadium in Perth, like the MCG. But could you imagine the Matildas playing for a spot in the Olympics at the MCG? That will sell out so quickly. That will be maybe not like the AFL Grand Final. It won't be that hot of a ticket, but maybe it's not going to be far off, because you look at, 7 million, 8 million that tuned in to watch them play in the World Cup. Everybody wants to get that ticket. So they'll sell it out with no issues. And it's a massive draw card, and it's just good for Australian football and good for women in football as well, because, for years they've struggled to get crowds, about their pay, about everything to do with them trying to grow the game. So this Women's World Cup and the Matildas, that the players deserve a lot of plaudits, because you know what? There was a lot of pressure on them to perform. They've done that at the World Cup, and now they're continuously doing it. And they're inspiring not just the girls coming through, they're inspiring the young boys. There's plenty of people with kids going to the games, whether they've got a young boy or a young girl with the Sam Kerr jersey on, saying probably when I grow up I want to be like Sam Kerr or Steph Catley or Caitlin Ford or Mary Fowler. So it's really, really exciting. And another bit of Australian football news, all the way on the opposite side of the world, you've got Michael Valkanis, who's now assistant coach with JVS, John Van Schip, who was at Melbourne City with both of us when we were young players. They're struggling. Ajax almost in the they might even be in the relegation zone.
I can't believe it. I think they've lost 8 in a row. Oh, fucking Ajax, man.
Yeah. So, but what an opportunity, with every I guess bad thing that happens to a club, someone gets an opportunity, and for JVS and Valkanis was in Israel as a manager there, and with what's going on, he's obviously the competition is being put on hold, and now he's moved on very quickly, which is very understandable because this, it doesn't look like that competition's going back anytime soon. And this opportunity, I think they were with Greece national team and now they're at Ajax together. And if you do well there, like football's a funny game. If they turn it around, who's to say they don't get a contract extension? And then you've got JVS and Valkanis again, leading Ajax, one of the biggest clubs, or you've got 3 or 4 big ones in Holland, but, one of the biggest brands in football with producing players. They can be in the Champions League games, Europa League. It's massive. It's massive for Australian football. Huge. And we've talked about, we want football to grow as a game, and the domestic game needs to improve. But you look at what's happening with Ange, with Valkanis, with the Matildas, with Pep Montemuro as well, killing it over there. We've got coaches. Kevin Muscat's linked with Millwall. We've got coaches all over. We've got players doing well. It's great to see. And for everyone in Australian football, we should be excited. And another big weekend ahead. And probably the biggest game in the A-League is the original rivalry, which we just spoke to Joe about. So that's exciting. I think that will be a massive crowd for that one. And plenty of Adelaide fans will get over for that. And for you guys at Western United, you've got a big game this weekend against MacArthur just to bounce back.
Yeah, of course, because it's only round 2, and that's what we got to remember. It's only round 2. Of course, you want to get off that perfect start, but it's so early on in the season. This is where you'll see how teams are going to be for maybe the rest of the season, how they can bounce back from things like this, and just in the results we've spoken about here, Matildas, massive score lines. So, these things can happen in football. I think the most important thing is your reaction and how you can bounce back from that. And that's where you'll see the true spirit of a team. But I also think Melbourne City versus Sydney FC is going to be a massive game. Obviously, 2 teams, premiers from last season, cup winners from this season, both down the bottom at the moment, not where they'll want to be. So that's going to be another huge game, and looking forward to see how that one pans out.
Yeah, no, exactly. Both clubs that demand excellence, they demand to win every game. So both coaches are under a lot of pressure, the players under a lot of pressure. So that's a good Friday night game, and that's where we'll finish up for the episode. Again, thanks so much for listening to us. We really appreciate it. Please subscribe, because it makes it easier for us to keep delivering what we are, and keep sending in those questions and any feedback, because we love to hear from you guys about what you want to hear about.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys, for all the support so far. We love doing this. We want to keep it coming. We'll be here every Thursday, like always, throughout the season. For any Instagram socials, it's at Football Friends Pod. On Twitter, we're at Ben and Steph Pod. So give those a follow, send through your questions, and stay up to date with all the latest news for our podcast. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.
Oh, Fred.
Fuck you lot, where's the beer?